Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video it's just going to be a little bit of a rant on why it just sucks being a Washington Commanders fan. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. I have a goal of getting to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. So the Commanders lose another game yesterday and fall to 1-3 on the season. Another terrible start to the season under a Ron Rivera team. This is a common theme every year he's been here. It's been a really bad start, and they do better at the end, but honestly, that's just made it worse for them long term because they get a worse draft pick. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I was 2 years old for their last playoff win. So I have basically never witnessed a playoff win. And the worst part is I can't stop rooting for them no matter what happens, no matter how bad they are, what controversies are going on. I just have too much love for this team. I'm too loyal, and I can't stop rooting for them. I cannot stop rooting for this team basically no matter what happens. I know for some people that have been around it for longer, witnessed the glory days, and then have been around since before, obviously before Snyder got here, and they've been through all they've kind of left, and maybe in 15, 20 years that'll happen for me, but right now just continuing to root for them. But it just sucks that it's the same thing every year. Doesn't matter the coach, doesn't matter the quarterback. It's the same thing, just mediocrity the last basically 20 years. And it's it's super frustrating because they're not, they suck at being bad too. Every year it's basically, with the exception of a few years, some years they get 8, 9, or get 9 wins and sneak in the playoffs. In a couple years, like 2019, they got 3 wins, but it's almost every year it's about 6 to 8 wins. The last 2 years have been 7 wins, and it's just you go nowhere with 7 wins. 7 wins, 6 to 8 wins is probably the worst place you can be in, because at least if you're at 2 to 4 wins, you're getting a top 3 pick, and you have a chance to change your franchise with a franchise quarterback. You look at the Bengals, how their team just completely changed after getting Joe Burrow, and some other teams as well. Once they got the quarterback, the Chargers, they just, their franchise was transformed. So we haven't even been able to do that. As bad as we've been the last 24 years or whatever, 23 years since Snyder's been here, we haven't been really bad enough to get a number 1 overall pick. The worst we were was number 2 overall pick in 2020 with Chase Young, and we didn't get a quarterback. We got Chase Young. Jury's still out on him, but we passed on Justin Herbert to we'll see how it goes with Chase, but we haven't been bad enough, and that's the most frustrating part. We haven't been bad enough to get a top 5 pick, and it seems like the last couple years maybe we'll be at the point where we can get a top 5 pick, especially I think in 2020 when we were 1-7 or 2-7, whatever we were at. And of course we go on a little winning streak at the end of the year, make the playoffs at 7-9, lose in the first round. Last year started off terrible. I think we were 2-6, and then we go on a 4-game winning streak, and maybe would have made the playoffs actually without any injuries, but end up winning 7 games on the year, missing the playoffs, and getting the 11th overall pick. Just it's not good. It's not good. And the thing is that I fear about this team is the same thing is going to happen, because, and I know some people in the comments are going to be like, okay, this team is terrible, they're going to win 1 more game at most the rest of the year, and that could definitely be the case. But not only do we have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way, also though, every single year Rivera's been here, he turns it around in the second half, but doesn't turn it around enough, but turns it around a little bit to get them to 7 wins, and I fear that's going to be the same case here. And if that happens, then we're going to be in the same spot we've been the last couple years, picking at anywhere from maybe 10 to 16, and not be maybe 8 to 16 if we get 6 wins, not being able to get the top quarterback, and not getting the playoffs, because this year is possibly a good quarterback class. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis. There's a lot of guys. Anthony Richardson could be a first, second round pick. There's a lot of guys that could potentially be franchise quarterbacks. Definitely better than last year's class, which was one of the worst in a long time. But if we win 6, 7 games, we're not going to be in position to get a quarterback. And also, there's other teams with multiple first-round picks that will be in position to, if they want to, trade up in the draft, and we won't be able to do that. And even worse, we likely won't have a second-round pick because of the Carson Wentz trade. If he plays 70% of the snaps, we are going to have to give up a second-round pick to the Colts. If not, it'll be a third. But it's just like, it doesn't matter the coach, the quarterback, like I said earlier. This team sucks. This team has been terrible ever since Snyder took over. And before, I was kind of the mindset, it doesn't. I mean, obviously Snyder's terrible, but I still think you can win with, despite him. But at this point, I've kind of come to the realization that, I mean, it's really, really, really hard to win with Dan Snyder. It doesn't matter who you bring in. Dan Snyder just makes them worse and worse and worse. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Ron Rivera. And Ron Rivera wasn't perfect before he came here. He had a lot of losing seasons in Carolina, but he definitely was well respected in the NFL. And we'll see what happens with him this year. I don't think he's getting fired, during the season. Honestly, even though I think he should, I think he might, survive. I think he might survive after the offseason too, because Snyder's too worried about all this other stuff, and that would just suck. That would suck if we have to go, especially if we get a top 3 pick with Rivera. That to me, I don't feel good about him and the front office making this choice, because Rivera the coach, he's not amazing, but Rivera the coach is definitely better than Rivera the GM. Just the personnel decisions he's made. Like, I'm sure the scouts are actually okay, but, they give the information on the players, and then Rivera actually makes the decisions on some of these guys. And, so far he hasn't done, there's been a lot of questionable decisions with Rivera. I made a video about him last week, my frustrations on him. Maybe I'll chill on that this week, but if it's another bad performance on Sunday this week against the Titans, or I guess, next week, I'll be doing a video on that as well. It's been a really rough few years. I mean, really 2 decades, but really, really bad the last few years. And I mean, you look at these offensive numbers since Scott Turner and Ron Rivera got here, or not even just offensive numbers, scoring margin 30th first half, 31st, offensive EPA, which is basically an advanced analytics, I think it's more an efficiency-based one. 28th defense, 21st. I mean, look at that. All in the only one we're not in the the highest we are is 19th in a single category. Like, just pathetic. Just absolutely pathetic. On average, we're like 28th. It's just a joke of a franchise. It's just a joke of a franchise, and unfortunately, it's probably not going to change unless we get super, super, super lucky with a quarterback. And who knows, maybe Carson Wentz turns around. I don't think he's ever going to be a franchise quarterback, but maybe he can be a solid one. But the only chance really we have of really turning this around is we get super, super lucky with a quarterback that we draft or we sign or we trade for, that turns out to be a top 5, top 10 guy. But that's going to be harder, to develop that guy in DC, and we have to get lucky with a coach as well. Somehow get a young offensive mind that has a lot of potential. We had so many of those guys in the building before: Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, and some other guys that really had no chance, but still Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur, and other guys. But those guys, they were never getting a job here. But still, just a lot of guys that have been here before that would have been great candidates. It is what it is at this point. Nothing we can do about it. And I talked about it earlier though. Here, some stats. Ron Rivera is 5-15 to start the last 3 seasons. 12 of those 15 defeats were by 2 possessions or more. They've held the lead 0% of the game over the past 3 games. And starting the season poorly is deflating and toxic to a fan base treading water in a sea of apathy. I hope they have answers. I don't. Yep. And that's kind of my end of the rant on this franchise, just how much it sucks to be a fan of this team. And I'm too loyal. I can't stop being a fan of this team, at least for now. And it doesn't look like we're going anywhere. And then some other updates. Jahan Dotson out for, Rivera said, likely 1 to 2 weeks. Brian Robinson off the PUP list. And he, is clear or he's going to start practicing. Very likely he plays this week. Same thing with Larson. And then Chase Young, not cleared yet. And at earliest now can make his return week 6. So probably my guess is week 7, week 8 we will see. So that's it for today's video. Unfortunately, not a happy one, but it is what it is. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, hit that like button, turn on those notifications, and subscribe if you're new. Peace.